Sajjad. So he picked up the book which was Sayyid Sajjad from the Verbi. And then he said, I wept and I cried. I started crying that I've had this book all these years and all this time, yet I neglected it. I've had this.
Brother Jawad, so we are still waiting for Sheikh, so we'll delay it a bit. We are live, but I'm just trying to contact the Sheikh if he has any trouble joining.
Okay.
So, inshallah, Brother Jawad, we will start with Quran. Salam, everyone. So I will invite Brother Jawad Mirali for Quran recitation.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسل وأغلالا وسعيرا إن يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا ودانية عليهم ظلالها وذللت قطوفها تذليلا ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون إذا رأيتهم حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا وإذا رأيت ثم رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا عاليهم ثياب سندس خضر واستبرق وحلوا أساور من فضة وسقاهم ربهم شرابا طهورا إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا إنا نحن نزلنا عليك القرآن تنزيلا فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أحسنت. اللهم صل على محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
أحسنت Jawad, very nice.
So now we will begin with some mercy and Farsi. I would invite Brother Hassan for that.
Thank you.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بثنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بغيت وبغي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. This is Marsiya Hazrat Rughayya talking to father. دلی ای ام پر غم دارم امشب دلی ای ام پر غم دارم امشب که دلتنگ پدر بسیارم امشب پرید خواب از چشمانم اکنون گرفته به قلب پر افکارم امشب بود چشمم به راهش در خرابه که باشد حسرت دیدارم امشب من امشب می نشینم عمه تا صبح به امید پدر بیدارم امشب مگر بابم خبر از ما ندارد که منزل در خرابه دارم امشب پدر جان گر بیایی ور نیایی من از هجر تو بسپارم جانم امشب پدر جان گر بیایی ور نیایی من از هجر تو جان بسپارم امشب پدر جان از غمت جانم به لب شد در این ویران سرای تارم امشب سرم بابا به دامن می گرفتی ببین بر خویش سر بگذارم امشب سرم بابا به دامن می گرفتی ببین بر خویش سر بگذارم امشب الا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين أي منقلب ينقلبون صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Hassan. Before we start, I just wanted to make a quick announcement and reminder on the behalf of fundraising committee. We are still some hundreds of dollars behind on our target for fundraising. So please feel free to donate for whoever who has not donated yet. And inshallah, we have Syed Rizvi with us tonight and tomorrow. So I would, without any delay, invite him to speak. Sheikh, whenever you're ready.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد
اللهم صل على محمد
صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا سألك عبادي فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I would like to thank the IABA community first and foremost for giving me this opportunity. My regards to Sheikh Jafar Muhibbullah, as well as all of the brothers and the sisters of the community who may have remembered the one time when I had visited them physically a few years ago. And inshallah, if it wasn't for this pandemic, we would have had this majlis in person. But extreme times call for extreme measures. And doing the aza of Sayyid al-Shahadat in this way is probably the way to go at this moment, keeping all of the safety requirements in perspective. And therefore, inshallah, hopefully we all pass through this difficult time. This pandemic is over, and hopefully soon we'll have the vaccine where we can go back to being normal again as far as our activities are concerned. But again, this is the aza of Sayyid al-Shuhada, which doesn't stop for anything. In the past 14 centuries, many folks have tried to undermine this aza. Many have caused barriers in front of it. Many have tried to stop it from happening, but all of their efforts were in vain. If anything, their actions caused it to be more and more. Their actions caused it to prosper even further. And therefore, this aza is, hayat for us. It has life for us. It keeps us alive. It is a means for our nourishment. And this is something which not only that we do because we are commemorating that greatest tragedy that ever took place, but we're doing this because it is an ibadat for us. We're doing this because it is a recommendation from Ma'asumin for us. And whenever a Ma'asum recommends something, it becomes hujjat upon us. So with that in mind, we understand how important this majlis-e-aza, this azadari is to us. And we need to make sure that we're able to continue it, because if we don't do it, it's not going to impact the aza. If we don't do it, it is going to impact us. It will not decrease. It is similar to the sun. When the sun rises, it does not show prejudice towards anyone. The rays of the sun shine upon everything that comes in its way. So it's not that it's shining on certain places more and certain places less. It's providing its equal rays. Again, not going into the technical details of sun's angle and all that stuff. But you get the point. That it is not prejudice toward any group or any particular place or the other place. It shines equally on everyone. It is us that we turn away from the sun. You think something will decrease from the sun if we avoid it, if we turn away from it, if we neglect or say we don't want its rays and we don't want to benefit from it? Nothing will decrease from the sun. If anything, we will be deprived of the energy that we can consume from it, or to be able to recreate other things that could run from this energy. And similar is the aspect of ibadat. That this ibadat that we perform, which has been made obligatory upon us, it is for our benefit. You may have heard from other speakers that Allah does not need our prayers. He's not in need of anything, let alone our salat and our prayers. So then why is it that He has made this to be obligatory upon us? He's made it to be obligatory upon us because for various reasons, so that we're thankful to Him. There are ayat in Quran which tells us why He made this obligatory upon us. فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّن خَوْفٍ. فَلْيَعْبُدُوا. Now go ahead and do ibadat of the Rabb of this bayt. Why? Because He provided for you. He gives you food. He gives you sustenance. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ. We have given you in abundance, now pray. So the salat, Allah does not need it. But it is important for our baqa. It is important for we are the ones who are in need of it. And therefore, the salat, one of the effects of the salat is what? Ayat of Quran says, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. The salat keeps you away from evil and indecency. You know how easy it became to measure and gauge that if our salat is accepted? Someone said, how do I know that my salat is accepted? He said, it's very easy. He said, really? How? All you need to do is see if you can avoid evil and indecency. If you're able to stay away from munkarat and fahsha, if these two things are away from you, then your salat is accepted, because that's the purpose of salat. But if you're still continue to go down the road of evil and indecency and you're praying, then yes, you're just performing this exercise of fulfilling your obligation, but you're not benefiting from it. So Allah does not need it. We are in need of this salat. We are the ones who are in dire need of this salat. And that is the topic of the discussion as well. I chose this ayat from Surah Baqarah, ayat number 186, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to His beloved Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And He tells him, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي. O Prophet, O Muhammad, when my servant asks you about me, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, then tell them that I am near. Indeed, I am near most. There are certain things that need to be understood before I go further in this ayat. And if you remember, it would be unjust if I don't explain this ayat before getting into the further explanation about dua and salat and our fourth Imam, which is all interrelated. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word sa'alaka, it is mentioned in riwayat that when the word sa'alaka comes with an, it means something which is immaterial. Whenever the word sa'alaka or as'aluka comes with min, it refers to something which is materialistic. Allahumma inni as'aluka min bahaika, as you recite in Dua Sahar. When it comes with as'aluka min, it is referring to something which is worldly. But when it says as'aluka an or sa'alaka anni, then it is something which is immaterial. So here, what is it that we're asking? When my servant asks you about me, concerning me, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the pronoun in this word anni, then tell them, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, that indeed I am close. I am the nearmost. This word qareeb has to be understood before I go further. That there are different types of nearness or qurb that exist. Qareeb comes from the word qaraba, qaf, ra, and ba, which is used in Urdu, which is used in Farsi. So we're familiar with this word. But qurbat is either makani, has to do with physical space, or zamani, has to do with time, or something which has to do with possession. For example, what is makani? When someone says, this thing is close to me. Someone says, where's the airport? He says, it's qareeb. When you say it's qareeb, you're referring to the physical closeness of the airport. Or when someone asks you about your father, about that friend, he said, that friend is very close to me. Are you speaking about the physical closeness? Not necessarily. Then there's qurbate zamani, which is for the time. Someone asked the Holy Prophet, when will Qiyamah take place? Prophet said, in adri, huwa qaribun aw ba'id. I don't know. If it's close, that means time frame. That if it'll happen tomorrow, am ba'id, or if it's gonna be a while before Qiyamah takes place. So from here, the word qurbat is referring to the time. The third type of qurbat is coming for possession, control over something. And more than often, it is for negative sense. For example, Allah the Quran says, La taqrabu mal al-yatim. Do not approach the wealth of yatim. That means what? Consume. Because does not mean approach that get close to it. What are you going to get by getting close to it? That means by consuming it. Don't usurp. You might be made guardian over this yatim because they are young and they can't decide for themselves at the moment. But don't become those who devour the wealth of this yatim. La taqrabu mal al-yatim. And it continues. Those who consume the wealth of the yatim and the orphans, they are consuming fire in their bellies. So that's the third aspect of the word qurb. Fourth aspect of the word qurb has to do with family, that it is used for khishawand, khanwade, your family. That when he says in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Holy Prophet, that invite your andir ashiratakal aqrabin, warn your closest family members, aqrabin. So Prophet had invited them to the house. There was this da'wat, which is called da'wate dhul ashira, which takes place. And he invited who? The closest relatives, his uncles and whatnot. Or for example, when people said to the Holy Prophet that we want to compensate you for your hard work, Prophet said, in ajri ila Allah, my ajr is with Allah. There's no way that you will compensate me. They said, no, still they insisted. The ayat of Quran was revealed. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Tell them that there's no way that you can compensate me. I do not ask any compensation whatsoever. Except what? مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. That you show love to my qirabadar, to my family. So the word qurb here is referring to those who are your relatives, those who are your family members. And the word qurba is here referring to the daughter of the Holy Prophet, the family, the Ahlul Bayt of the Holy Prophet. So these are the four possible explanations of this qurba. I thought it would be interesting to explain that. And then the ayat continues. إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاءِ إِذَا دَعَانِي. I am close to them. I respond to their supplications when they pray. إِذَا دَعَانِ. There's condition there, brothers and sisters. Someone will say, well, Allah knows what I need. Why do I have to ask? No, there's a condition placed upon the fact that you must ask Him. And without you asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is possible that you might not be given what you're looking for. So make sure that you ask. Asking is what? Is the Shiva of Anbiya. Don't feel ashamed of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, Allah says those who إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. That who are too arrogant to worship me, they will definitely be entering into Jahannam humiliated. داخرين. And Riwayat of Ma'asum also mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is annoyed by a person who performs the salat, prays to Him, does sajda to Him, but not raise his hands in dua. Why? Because Allah says he thought that I'm worthy of sajda, but I'm not worthy of dua. So make sure that you ask, make dua. Dua is your aslaha, dua is your weapon. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, in Dua Kumail, he says what? He says, Ya Sari al-Rida, اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء. Look at these beautiful words. We read them every week, but how seldom do we pay attention to them. That, oh, the one whose pleasure is sought the quickest. Just ponder over this word right now. Has it been a case with you that someone became angry with you? And then this anger, this friendship was broken off? Has it ever happened to you that your father, your mother would not speak to you? Has it ever happened to you that your brother, your sister do not communicate with you? Has it ever happened that your own children don't speak to you and they're angry with you over something? And this lingers on and goes on for a time being. It happens. Sometimes this is where we see that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to us, He says, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي. That I will respond to their prayers when they ask me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is amongst those who's annoyed when a person does not knock on His door. And when he thinks that Allah is worthy of sajda, but Allah is not worthy of dua, and Allah is not worthy of asking. I lost my chain of thoughts about the point that I was trying to make over there. But inshallah, if it comes back to my mind, I'll share it with you. That I was taking you toward, has it ever happened to you that someone is not speaking to you? But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us this opportunity. Imam says, Ya Sari al-Rida. Yes, I remembered. That how it's difficult to convince someone to start talking to you again. How many times we have to, how many things that we have to do to make our loved ones start loving us again. But it's not the same case with Allah. Sari al-Rida. His pleasure is attained the quickest. You say one word and all is forgiven. You thank Him by saying Alhamdulillah and all is given. We saw that in the times of, in the Sirat of Ma'asumeen. This very fourth Imam of ours, Imam Zainul Abidin, whose Shahadat we're commemorating. He was in Arafat. A beggar came, asked for help. Imam had nothing but the grapes. He offered him, he said, I don't need grapes, he left. Another beggar came, Imam offered the grapes. He took the grapes and he said, Alhamdulillah. Imam said, hold. Imam asked all of his companions who were sitting with him at that time, do you have anything with you? You're in Arafat, you're wearing the ihram, you're not carrying anything with you. So it is possible that they didn't have anything or much. But whatever Imam was able to collect, Imam gave it to this beggar. He again said, Alhamdulillah. There was this aba that Imam was carrying. Imam gave him this aba as well. When Imam gave him his aba, which makes me think that this probably was in Mina, where Ihram comes off, so Imam had his aba with him. Imam took off his aba and Imam gave it to him. When Imam gave him his aba, he said, aba is this cloak that you wear on top of your dress. He said, thank you, O Imam. And then Imam stopped. The beggar left. Imam then turned to his companions and he said, if this man had continued to say, Alhamdulillah, I would have continued to give him. I would not have stopped. I would have continued on giving it to him. This is the seerah of the fourth Imam. He would kiss the hand of the beggar when he would put something on his hands. People looked at him and said, Imam, what are you doing? He said, have you not read the ayat? That it is Allah, and Allah yakhudhu sadaqat. Allah is the one who collects the sadaqah. It lands on the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, the Jews thought that Allah is in need, so we help him. No, it lands on the hand of Allah because, again, Allah is not in need of it. We are in need of it. But it is through this beggar, it is landing in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I kiss the hand of Allah. For a time, this hand becomes the hand of Allah. It becomes Yadullah. And he says, thank the person who's asking you for help. Our concept is that the person who's asking for help, and if we help them, they should thank us because we've done a favor to them. What is there for them to be thanked for? Imam is saying on the contrary, no. When you help a beggar, thank them. Why? Because this beggar is transferring your wealth free of charge from this world to the hereafter. I'll give you an example. You know, these remittance companies, when you transfer money from one place to another, or you wire money from one place to another, from one country to another, many people who are from the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Iran, or some of the Arab countries, you know, it is a normal thing for us as immigrants to, to transfer money. And I'm sure every one of us knows this phenomenon. Americans may not know this because they don't have to transfer money to anyone, but all of us know because we've sent money back home. But when you send money, there's a fee that is associated with it. Through Western Union or other companies that you send money, you have to pay a fee. They charge you for transferring your money because they're providing you a service. Imam says this beggar is transferring your wealth because you can't carry it with you. If someone said, after I die, bury all of my wealth with me in my grave, is that going to do any good to him? No. Unless he puts his wealth to some good things and that benefits him. But burying the wealth itself is not going to happen. It's not going to do anything. He's not going to be able to receive it over there. So this beggar is transferring your wealth free of cost. Thank him and kiss his hands because it becomes the hands of Allah. It lands on the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah's pleasure is sought, is attained the quickest. If he becomes angry from us because we disobeyed him, it is the quickest that you can gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Imam uses these words. Ya Sari ar-Rida. You must have heard, and there's so many scholars that come and recite, so I'm just repeating these things, and forgive me for repeating. That when it comes to our intentions of doing something, a lot of time, these intentions are vital. I've read in Riwayat, when these Atid and Raqib, these two angels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed, who document our good and bad deeds. That's their duty, right? And nothing is missed from them. That's why tomorrow when we arrive, the ayah says, La ma li hadal kitab, la yughadiru saghiratan wala kabira. What is up with this book? It did not leave anything small or big Everything is documented in this book. There won't be any denial tomorrow. But Imam makes an exception. That وَالشَّاهِدُ لِمَا خَفِيَ عَنْهُمْ. When he says in Dua Kumail, وَالشَّاهِدُ لِمَا خَفِيَ عَنْهُمْ. Oh Allah, you are witness over that even which is invisible from these angels. Allah is Sattarul Uyub. There's certain things that Allah has kept away from even these angels. But all in all, they see pretty much everything. So when we commit an evil act, when we commit a sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angel, don't write it down yet. Don't document this in the register. Don't put it in his book of Amal. Wait. Some riwayat mention 7 hours, some riwayat mention 10 hours. In 10 hours, if my servant repents, then don't even write his bad deed, as if he did not commit it. But on the contrary, if this servant of mine thinks about something good, something positive that he wants to do, he just thought of it, write it down. Because it's possible that it'll slip his mind and he'll forget. And when he forgets, he may not do it. But I still want to give him benefit of the doubt. And I want to reward him for even thinking about doing that. No, don't take this riwayat for granted and say, well, we're going to start thinking about doing good deeds. We do it or we don't. It doesn't matter. No. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Amal are based on your niyat and your intentions. So Imam says, Ya sari ar-rida, ighfir liman la yamliku illa du'a. Forgive the one who has nothing, absolutely nothing in his possession. Except what? Except this dua. All I have in my possession is this dua. I don't own this bank balance that I have. I don't own this money that I have. I don't own this house. I don't own any of these, these children. I don't own them. I don't own my body parts. I don't own my organs. None of these things are my possession. That's why all of those issues related to organ donation, they also fall in the same category. I don't own them. And plus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants these things tomorrow because he says these a'dha and jawara, these organs will be what? Bearing witness tomorrow. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. That on that day the mouths will be sealed, the hands will be talking, the feet will be talking, the skin will be speaking, and there are other riwayat which refers to the same aspect. So all of these will be talking and bearing witness against us if we have done something wrong. So if there's anything that we have in our possession, it is what? It is this dua. Dua is silahul mu'min. It is the weapon of a mu'min. So don't take it for granted. Understand the power of this dua. Our fourth Imam lived in a very difficult time. If any of you ever run into a time when you see that all of the roads are closed for you, all of the paths are, closed for you, and there's no way out for you. If you ever feel that way, that nothing is going in your way, you've lost everything, and you're back to zero again. You have to start from scratch, then take forth Imam to be your role model. Make him to be your role model, your lead in rebuilding, because that's what our fourth Imam is doing. ارتد الناس بعد قتل الحسين. The people became murtad after the Shahadat of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Our fourth Imam does not have any companions. He lost family members. Jawanan and Banu Hashim, they're no longer there. Who does he work with? Who does he propagate and preach? He doesn't have wealth. He doesn't have resources. Yazid may have sent Imam and his family back home safe and sound, but did not make things easy for him. Year after the event of Karbala, what happens? The city of Medina is destroyed. desecrated. The Masjid of Nabi becomes the stable of animals because they're doing what? They're attacking Ashab Rasul. They're attacking Badriyun. They're attacking the sanctuary. And there was no salat offered for 3 days in Masjid al-Nabawi. And there were so many illegitimate children born after a year. All of these atrocities were committed by Yazid and his deputy Muslim ibn Uqba in the event known as Waqi Harra. Read about it. So it does not become easy for Imam Zainul Abidin in the year 62 or in the year 63 for that matter, because Yazid then sends another battalion toward Mecca to fight Ibn Zubayr, who had claimed to be the Khalifatul Muslimin. And when they attacked Mecca, they attacked the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They shot fires upon it. The walls burned down. Just imagine something like this. Can you even imagine something like this happening today? How outraged the Muslim Ummah will be if something like this to happen today. There was this political war that was taking place, this proxy war that was taking place. It still is happening. It may have slowed down because of pandemic between the kingdom and Yemen. And when the Houthis were firing, right away you saw the entire Muslim Ummah stand up, feeling, oh, they're firing toward Mamlikatil Saudiya and Arabiya, the land of Khadim Haramain Sharifain, or the land of the Haramain. So right away there was this outrage, although this was a political war that was happening. Just imagine something like this to happen to city of Mecca and Medina today. And then having a debate, the person who's responsible for doing that, you can't even say, may Allah remove his mercy from them. All of the outrage that you see in the world today, every year in the month of Muharram, especially this year, I'm sure you've been following the news in Pakistan, how the Takfiris, they're chanting that Shias are kafir because they're fighting for the right to call Yazid, Muawiyah, and Abu Sufyan, this family tree, the Shajara Khabitha, to be what? Radiyallahu anhum. That's what they're reclaiming. Do they not know what these people have done? Abu Sufyan fought against the Holy Prophet. Only brought Iman after Fatih Makkah, because, and everyone did at that time. They didn't have any choice, either leave or embrace the religion. So out of fear, or out of being killed, he embraces it, like many other people did. That's why Janab Zainab called them what? Yabna Tulaqa. Yabna Tulaqa is referring to Abu Sufyan and so on, and his party. Because they are, Yazid is the Ibn of Tulaqa. Those who were freed by the Holy Prophet. Said, I don't want anything to do with you. Tulaqa comes from the word talaq. Talaq, when you give talaq to someone, that means you have set them free. So they were set free. And now they're fighting to call Abu Sufyan to be what? Radiyallahu anhu. And then his son, what he did, he fought against Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, who's the, according to them, fourth Khalifa Rashid, rightly guided Khalifa. They don't consider him to be the first Imam, they consider him to be the fourth Khalifa. Your fourth Khalifa, who's part of Khulafa Rashideen, someone is raising a war, standing up and revolting and fighting him in the Battle of Siffin. You want to call that person to be radiyallahu anhu? So Imam Ali alayhi wasalam, or in their words, Imam Ali radiyallahu anhu was fighting Muawiyah, and they call it radiyallahu anhu. So both are radiyallahu anhu. Do they not have mind and intellect to think? And then his son, all of the calamities and the atrocities that he brought upon the household of the Holy Prophet. And that was not enough in Karbala, what happened in Medina. And if that was not enough, how he attacked the Kaaba. For what? For his right to be the leader. And so what happened? What? He did in 61, he attacks Imam Hussein. In 62, he attacks Medina. 63, he attacks Kaaba. 64, he dies. What was all of this for? Where was he going to take all of this? So I know I went in tangents and strayed away from my discussion, my topic, and I'll come back to it. That this is unfortunate that today this whole debate is happening. And it has taken us away from the essence of Karbala. It has taken us away. And this was the situation that our fourth Imam is dealing with. It's not easy for him in the year 61, 62, 63, 64. And then after Yazid, the next few rulers of Banu Umayyah are just as bad as Yazid was. All of the tyranny that was inflicted upon Imams alayhi salatu wasalam. So Imam is not what? He's starting from scratch. So if you need inspiration from someone, if you've hit rock bottom, if you're at zero and there's nothing left with all that is happening in this country, from elections, from Black Lives Matter, to all of these things that you're struggling and seeing that is happening around you, and you start to feel that there's nothing that you could do because it's the entire system which is corrupted, and how can us do anything about the system? Then take inspiration from fourth Imam. You could not be in a worse situation that he was in. He saw the killing of his father, killing of the youth and Jawanan and Banu Hashim, the loyal companions being paraded from city to city, then eventually coming back to Medina, and then having zero followers with him. And today is all about followers, right? How many people are following you on Twitter? How many people are following you on this or on that social media? And it's zero followers. They may be followers by heart, but they don't have the guts to come forward because the government is watching them. And then he doesn't have the family members to build upon. But Imam does not give up. Imam does not say, well, that's it, I'll wait for the best time to come. Imam starts from scratch. And he found this unique method to propagate. That unique method was through dua. That unique method was through supplications. This book, unfortunately, that we take it for granted. It is a book which we have been given, and the compilers of the book is none other than our fifth Imam and his brother Zayd al-Shaheed. These are the two compilers of this book. This book, which is called Sahifa Sajjadiyah, Ukhtul Quran, sister of Quran, Injil Ahl Bayt, Zabur Ali Muhammad, Sahifa Kamila, that's Sahifa which is complete, nothing lacking in it. 54 du'as which are at the peak of fasahat and balaghat. That tells you that it is the kalam of Imam Ma'soom. If there's any work that could be associated with any of the Imams, because there are debates over all of the works, Nahjul Balagha is definitely the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, no one else can say it. But it was compiled by Sayyid Radi in the form of Nahjul Balagha. But this is Sahifa Sajjadiyah, which is the word of Imam Zain al-Abidin, for sure, compiled by his own son who's Ma'soom. So there's so much authenticity with it. Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, he's the father of Muhammad Baqir Majlisi, Sahib Biharul Anwar. Lived in the time of Sheikh Bahai, and he used to visit him, asked him about Salatul Layl. Sheikh Bahai said, yes, it is highly recommended that you should pray. He said, I have some qaza from, my younger days. Sheikh said, well, fulfill your qaza first, and then if you have time, also offer Salatul Layl. Because Salatul Layl is recommended. Those qaza are obligatory. Allah will hold you accountable for that which is obligatory and not upon which that is recommended. So make sure that you fulfill your wajibat first. A lot of us, sometimes we neglect the wajib and we're so much after that which is mustahab. Sadaqah is mustahab, but khums is wajib. Well, I help out charities, I give donation, I give more than what is I would be given in khums. Fine. Even that $1 of khums, it's an obligation. That $100 of sadaqah is recommended. You do it, you will get reward for that. If you don't do it, nothing happens. But obligation remains obligation. So don't neglect that. That's one thing. So Imam leaves this book to us. Sheikh Bahai told him, make sure that you perform your wajibat. He then says he always wanted to meet Imam Zamana. Muhammad Taqi Majlisi says. He said he sleeps on the rooftop one day and he was dozing off. He hadn't completely fallen asleep where he sees Imam Zamana. He says to Imam, "Oh Imam, it's not always easy for me to get in touch with you. Can you recommend me and direct me towards a book which will keep me close to you?" Imam tells him in his dream, go to a person by the name Muhammad Taj, and he will give you the book. He wakes up first thing in the morning. He goes to Sheikh Bahai thinking that he would be Muhammad Taj, because Sheikh Bahai is the akabir of the ulama and the leader of the madhab at that time. So he's got that taj, that crown on his head. But he sees that no, Sheikh Bahai isn't the person. Then as he was walking, he remembered the place that he was in the dream. He arrives there and there was this man whose name was Taj. He invites him to his house, goes inside, and he says, there are a lot of students who come and take my books and they don't return it. I have kept some books for you. Take whatever you want to. He starts seeing his dream is coming true. But this person, Taj, he did not give him anything directly. The first thing that Muhammad Taqi picked up was Saif Sajjad. He cried. He wept. He said, all these years I had this book, but I was negligent. I asked Imam, guide me to a book. Imam guided me to Saif Sajjad. How unlucky am I that I've always had this book Baina Yaday, yet I did not pay proper attention to it. And then you and I should ask the same question, that how come we have been so negligent towards this book in our lives? That because of this, Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, he taught the du'as of this book. He said in Isfahan, there were many people who became mustajabud da'wah by learning and understanding this book, Saif Sajjad, 54 du'as in it. Just imagine the barakat of it. The people became mustajabud da'wah, someone whose du'a is accepted. You know, for example, when you go to certain scholars, you go see a marja, ayatullah, mushtahid, you say to them what? Please do du'a for us. Even your resident scholar, you know, you ask, Maulana, please make du'a for us. Because you think in your mind that they are more pious and their du'as will be accepted, which is true. So you ask them for du'a and you ask them to pray for you because you think that they're mustajabud da'wah. When they pray, their du'a will be answered. He said, by the barakat of teaching people of Isfahan this book, Saif Sajjad, many people in Isfahan became mustajabud da'wah. So if you want to become mustajabud da'wah, whose du'a is answered, and if you pray for others, it is answered, and it's not declined, then go ahead and study this book, read this book. There are a lot of reasons why our du'as are not answered. Because sometimes we're asking for things which are not in our favor. Sometimes we're asking for things which we are not in need of. In tubdalakum tasu'ukum. If it became apparent to you, it will be bad for you. Asa an tuhibbu shay'an wa huwa sharrul lakum. Sometimes you ask for things or you love something which is evil for you. Wa asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum. And sometimes you despise something, but it is actually good for you. You don't know. Allah knows. So we make terrible choices sometimes. Ulama akhlaq mentioned there are 4 possibilities when it comes to dua. You make dua, either it's accepted, or it's declined, or it's accepted and you're given something else in return, or it's accepted and you're given in qayamat. 4 possibilities. When you ask for dua, you ask dua for something, you make dua, oh Allah, bestow me awlad who's obedient. Allah accepts your dua, He gives it to you. Say, mashallah, my dua was accepted. So you say what? Alhamdulillah. You made dua, oh Allah, give me pious awlad. Your dua was rejected. Did not come true. And we say, well, we've been making dua, but it has not come true for us. We don't have that success in making dua. We don't have the same luck as some people do. Fourth Imam said, oh Allah, when should I be more thankful to you? When you accept my dua or when you reject my dua? Then Imam answered himself. He said, I should be more thankful to you when you reject my dua. Why? Because when you accept my dua, you did what I wanted. When you reject my dua, you did what you wanted. Your want and your will and your wishes superior to mine. Similar is in reference to Shahadat. Imam said, oh Allah, when should I be more thankful? When I'm sick or when I'm healthy? Imam said, I should be more thankful when I'm sick. Why? Because only when I'm sick, I realize the worth and the value of being healthy again. When I'm healthy, I take it for granted. But when I fall sick, only then I understand the worth and the value. So I should be more thankful to the sickness that you have given me. So Imam says the same thing in reference to this dua, that if it's rejected, I should be more thankful to you. And thirdly, Allah accepts your dua, but He gives you something else. You ask for a certain thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you something else. Because asa an tuhibbu shay'an, you have riches and love for something, but it could be evil for you, and we don't know it. And lastly, you ask for something and Allah delays it and gives it to you in Qayamat. Second Imam said, if only people knew that which we will be given after our du'as in Qayamat, how superior it is, nobody will say, oh Allah, make my dua come true in this life. Make my dua come true in the hereafter. I'd rather take it over there than over here. So these are the 4 scenarios that could be as far as dua is concerned. Inshallah, I'll talk more about it tomorrow night in reference to some of the aspects of dua, and wanted to share a few du'as from Sayyid Sajjadiyah. Imam ﷺ spent 34 years of his life after Karbala in very much, under the rules of these tyrant Umayyad rulers, Umawi rulers. And after Yazid, it did not become easy for Imam. But Imam continued his work. He continued to train. And within 20 years of time, Imam was able to raise the community back to where it was. You want to know the victory of Imam in Sayyid al-Shuhada, after Sayyid al-Shuhada, the victory of Imam Zainul Abidin, that he's the first Imam and probably the only Imam whose janazah was picked up and there was not a soul in Medina who did not attend it. Maybe the second Ali that comes, Ali al-Rada, whose janazah was picked up in the similar fashion. But fourth Imam's janazah was picked up unlike any other janazah. Look at the janazah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's Imam al-Muttaqeen. He's Khalifatul Muslimin. Yet when he was martyred in the month of Ramadan, in the masjid of Kufa, Imam ﷺ said to his children that you carry my janazah from back and there will be angels from in front. And it was picked up at the night, dark night. And then he was buried like that. His qabr remained unknown for many years. In the time of sixth Imam, his grave was, uncovered, or rather became known. Look at Imam Hasan al-Mushtaba. His janazah was picked up, but there was tir baran. The arrows were shot toward it. And then Imam Hussein, we know that there was no janazah for him. His body remained on the plains of Karbala, and nobody picked up until Imam Zainul Abidin comes back. Imam والسلام, endured so much difficulty in Karbala. He became old overnight. Muhammad Hanafiya did not recognize Imam Zainul Abidin upon his return to Medina. How he has aged in a few months, that he was a young man. If we take his birth 38 after Hijrah, he's only 23 years old. Yet Muhammad Hanafiya is unable to recognize his nephew because he's aged so much. Imam والسلام, on the day of Ashur, he recalls those scenes when his father was martyred. Imam Hussein raised the banner and he said, by raising the istighasa, Hal min nasirin yansurana. Is there any nasir and helper who would come for our help? Hal min mughithin yughithuna. When he did not get any response, Imam Hussein sees that far in the tent there's a young man who's coming out with a sword in his hand. Imam sees that there's a lady who's trying to pull this young man back, and she's having difficult time. Imam rushes towards that tent, and that was the tent of Imam Zainul Abidin. He goes up to his son and he says, "Oh Sajjad, what are you trying to do?" He said, "Oh Baba, you called upon me and you called for istighasa. How is it that a father calls and I don't say labbaik to him?" Ajrukum Allah. Imam said, "Oh my son, you will go through much severe and difficult situation. Shahadat is the easy portion of it. We will go through the part of Shahadat, but the part that you have to go through, it will be very, very difficult for you." Imam says this, leaves him with the asrar of Imamat, makes his way back to the Maqtal. The time comes that Imam embraces Shahadat. Zainab could not see, who was watching from Tilla Zainabiyah, that her brother had been laid and slain, and Shimr was sitting on top of Imam's body. And Janab Zainab said, "Oh Shimr, be gentle with my brother. He's been hungry and thirsty for 3 days." When she could not see her brother, she came back to the tent. She woke up Imam Zainul Abidin. "Oh my son Sajjad, wake up, I can't see your father." Imam Zainul Abidin, in that state where he was very tired and he was sick, he could barely get up. He got up and he says, "Oh my aunt, remove the veil." As soon as the veil was removed, Imam Zainul Abidin said, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." Papi Amma, I see that my father, his head has been raised onto the spear. Ajrukum Allah. May Allah give you no grief and sorrow except the grief of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Zainul Abidin is now the carrier, is now the person who has to lead this caravan. Janab Zainab fills in that duty after Imam Hussein left this world. But always she was looking and referring to Imam Zainul Abidin. She said on the Sham Ghariba, "Oh my son, this is the first fiqhi mas'ala that was posed to Imam Zainul Abidin after he became the Imam of the Ummah." She said to him, "Oh my son, should we remain inside the burning tents or should we go outside and save our lives?" Imam Zainul Abidin said, "Oh my aunt, you are alimatu ghayr muallima. You are knowledgeable. You know that we have to save our lives. We can't die." She said, "Oh my son, look at my head. I do not have any wales." ألا لعنة الله قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Allah, we've committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Allah, give us the tawfiq and ability to follow the commands and the teachings of our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam. Allah, give us the tawfiq and ability to understand his book, his work, Sahifa Sajjadiyah, and ponder over it. Allah, hasten the reappearance of our weighted Imam. Make us amongst the helpers and the supporters of Imam. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकाश का हो रहा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकाश का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. सियाह कपड़े सियाह चादर गमों की गर्दों गुबार सर पर है. सोगवारों के अश्क जारी के सानिए ज़हरा बेरिदा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. न चश्मे पुरनम हो क्यों सवाली, जुलूस है जुलजना खाली के मेरा दुल सवार मौला ज़मीने करबल में सो रहा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. अलम में मशके सकीना देखो तो मोमिनो बस ये कह के रो लो. अलम में मशके सकीना देखो तो मोमिनो बस ये कह के रो लो. चचा भतीजी में क्या है निस्बत, वफाए अब्बास क्या वफा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. नमर पर्ची दिले नबी पर अभी हुए हैं जवान अकबर. नमर पर्ची दिले नबी पर अभी हुए हैं जवान अकबर. ये कत्ल जिसको तू कर रहा है, यही तो हम शक्ल मुस्तफा है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. मदीने वालों खामोश रहना, गरीब ज़ैनब से कुछ न कहना. पसा हुआ घर जो ले गई थी वो करबला में उजड़ गया है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है. अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ा बिछा है. अज़ाए शबीर है इबादत, जनाब ज़ैनब की है अमानत. अज़ाए शबीर है इबादत, जनाब ज़ैनब की है अमानत. ये नौहा तेरे कलम से महशर जनाब ज़हरा की कता है. तमाम आलम में आज मातम हुसैन बेकास का हो रहा है.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Brother Ali, for the beautiful Nahar recitation. And thanks to Sheikh as well. Inshallah, we will have Syed Rizwan from Majlis tomorrow night as well. The program will start at 8:15 p.m. Thank you.